Back to pass for the Swedes is Ty Owens, and he fires and it's picked off. Picked off. Josh Sears going to run it back for the touchdown. Thresher. Hello and welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside head football coach at Bethel College, Josh Lawson, as the Threshers drop their first game of the season, and I don't even remember the score. I know it was 61-7, but that's what I'm thinking mentally.
67-7, yeah.
Yeah, it was way up there, and it was unfortunate for the Threshers to go down. I don't think they played a tougher season opener in my entire time here against Southwestern, and it was a very tough game. A lot of learning things about your team, Coach. A very young team. But there are goods and bads to things. But overall, I know nobody likes to lose a football game, but I think you learned a bit about your team.
Oh, no doubt, and I think they learned a lot about themselves. Obviously Southwest is a good football program. Their head coach, he's been there for 11 seasons now, and he's got that thing rolling pretty good. And we went into it. I would tell you the biggest thing is our guys. We counted it after the game. We have 13 guys on our team that's ever played in a college football game. And so we had a bunch of kids that just didn't understand the speed and the physicality of what a college football game really is. And I think we learned a lot after that game. It's not the kind of learning experience that you enjoy, but it was a good learning experience.
Yeah, I was thinking about it a little bit. You watch some body language of some of the young guys, and some of them may not have been in that kind of situation before. And it's like you don't want to do those things. You don't want to come off as a certain way or act out or anything like that. You got to show that you're a tough football player. You're here to play football, and I felt like there's definitely a lot to learn from in the first game of the season. I guess the question I would pose to you is, like, what do you tell your team after a game like that?
I think the thing you have to talk about after a game like that is the reality of what it was. They came out more disciplined than we were. They came out more physical than we were. They came out and we're ready for a college football game. And I think that's what we talked about after the game, and that's what we've been talking about this week. And to just be quite honest with you, part of the culture change that we're having that I'm having to deal with and our players are having to deal with is we talk about how you do anything's how you do everything. Well, go back and I get a grade report this week, and we had about 15 guys that missed class last week, 15, 20 guys that missed class last week. So that just rolls over. If you don't do right in all of your life, you're not going to do right on the football field. And so that's something that we're having to learn is how we do how we go to class. When we get in class, are we taking notes? Are we on time to everything? Are we wearing the correct, are we getting the weights on time? We work out at 6 in the morning. Are you there at 6 or are you there at 6:01? There's a huge difference in those two things. We have a specific outfit we're supposed to wear every day to weights. Do you have on the correct outfit? Everything that you do matters. And that's something that I think I've been able to drive into our team's head for the last 2 or 3 days is you went all week doing things wrong, not just on the football field, but outside of the football field, and it showed up on Saturday. The lack of discipline throughout Sunday through Friday shows on Saturday. And that's something that, and I think you can talk to all the guys on the team that have been here, creating that sense of discipline that they just never have had. And so that's something that we've had to start trying to create. And it's a learning process for them, and they're learning it the hard way.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just a different analogy. I mean, if you don't go to class, you can't pass the test. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's that's the long and short of it for the most part. I mean, I guess one of the things that there are some things that were positive that it did come from this football game. You guys only had one turnover in the game. It was an interception. You brand new freshman college quarterback that had to manage, got kind of thrown into the firing pan a little bit, and managed to get a touchdown pass out of it. But there was a lot of things that when there is a shadow of all the things that went wrong, there are a little bit of good things to build upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're always looking for positives. I mean, you have to highlight, you have to make the corrections, you have to highlight the negatives, but you're also looking for positives. You're looking for ways to grow, and that's what we got to do. I mean, like, again, an inexperienced team, you have to just get better every day. And I'll say this, like, they came out to practice today and they practiced the way they're supposed to. I think the physicality of Saturday really showed them that, like, hey, we have to come out here and we have to be extremely physical every single day, and we have to play with a sense of urgency in order to practice with a sense of urgency in order to play with that sense of urgency.
Yeah, just kind of observation on the sideline a little bit. I mean, I know Coach Smith was up in the press box and everything, and I was like, versus practice and scrimmage and everything, he's out there, pumping energy into guys. It just kind of felt a little, dead, for lack of a better term. I mean, but I know that, there's ways to work around that because I know what he is and an impact he is on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, which when you go your first four plays, you've had 2 penalties and a touchdown by the other team. That's going to deflate you pretty good, and so those are the things that we have to keep from happening. We got to stay on the positive end of everything, and that's what I talked to the team about today. We got to eliminate the negatives in every part of your life. What you're trying to do for the rest of your life, not just in football, but everything in life, is eliminate the negatives in your life. And so that's what we've been focusing on for the last couple of days.
Certainly. Just kind of running through some numbers from the football game. On offense, Bethel rushed for 113 and passed for 107, punted 9 times. Quarterback Byron Reese completed 14 and 21 passes for 107 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Noah Miller, in his first college football game playing running back, 12 carries for 47 yards, had a long as 16. Tristan LeBlanc came in late in the game, had a 23-yard run. That was good for you guys. Josiah Bowler, kind of picking up where he left off last season. 3 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. They were really keying Trayvon Madison for a lot of the game as well. So it was kind of tough to get going, but you guys got as creative as you can get, to try to maximize the situation on offense. Kind of looking at defense, you guys had 5 tackles for loss and an interception and 7 pass breakups, which was really important against the pass. I felt like you guys did better against the pass versus the run. But they were going to run the football a lot in that football game. They rushed for 8 touchdowns of the 9 that were scored in that game. Your leading tackler was Mario with 8 tackles. Avery Richardson had 7. Kevin Hill had 5. And then Caleb Jefferson on the first defensive drive of the second half, I guess you can put it. He had an awesome interception off the tip. Great response. He also had a few pass breakups as well for a freshman guy. That was, a little bit more than you expect, I guess, more than anything. But, you see things, Coach, from the defensive side, they're small positives and things like that. I know the physicality is definitely a thing, but when you're leading tacklers, your defensive backs, what does that tell you?
Well, AD is not necessarily a defensive back. He's a hybrid for us, so he plays a little bit of everything, and that position that he's in is supposed to be the leading tackler for us. Now, the biggest problem I would say we were having is up front we were playing way too high. But we missed a ton of tackles, probably the most tackles I've ever seen missed in a college football game. And that's something that for the last 2 days we've spent a lot of time on is, as little depth as we have, we don't have a whole lot of we haven't had a whole lot of retention. We don't have a whole lot of guys back that have played in college football games. And so with the depth issues that we have, we can't just go out there and put on full pads and go tackle each other every day because we can't take the injuries every day. So we have to work specific tackling drills at specific times, and we've been working on that. I felt like our defensive backs and our linebackers tried to tackle high way too much, trying to sling guys down instead of wrapping guys up and getting them to the ground. I felt like our defensive line was reaching for guys instead of trying to get their bodies on guys and use their weight to bring guys down. So that was the big thing, is the missed tackles really caused major issues for us throughout the day.
Yeah, if anybody that watched the football game, you look at how Southwestern was playing defensively, and I was thinking, they were all, there was 3 guys on the guy carrying the ball and hitting them hard, things like that. So I feel like there's a lot to learn from, just kind of looking at both sides of that. for the first football game. But the Threshers fall in the first one and have another chance this week against McPherson. It's a 6 o'clock kick at Thresher Stadium as the Bulldogs come to town, and you can watch it on the KCAC network or come out to Thresher Stadium, more importantly, and support the team here in their first home game of the season. Looking at a few other results from the weekend, a lot of teams scoring a lot of points. Let's just say Friends beat Bethany 73-14. Kansas Wesleyan wins 27-10 in an interesting kind of football game. You know, a lot of people didn't know to expect from Kansas Wesleyan, you know, whether they're going to run a little flex bone. I think they showed a lot of different looks offensively, but they managed to win by 17 in their first game, and that was at home. McPherson won 52-7. We'll talk about them in a little bit. And then Tabor wins against Sterling 34-9, Evangel 62-14 at St. Mary. But kind of just shifting gears a little bit, I mean, I guess I can ask you a little bit about the conference results and, you know, a little bit what kind of stood out to you after looking at what everybody did the first week?
I think a lot of what happens to be expected. When you look around this league, you can see where most of the schools who have coaches who have been there for several years and have kind of been able to build their roster and have retention and have players and they can go 60, 70 guys deep, makes a lot of difference. And so when you look around the conference and you see the teams that have that kind of depth, it's usually because they have coaches that have been there for several years. And so I think a lot of it's to be expected. You know, the top of our league is really, really good. I'll tell you this: there's going to be some teams that didn't play very well on Saturday that are going to have good seasons, though. There's going to be some teams that show up. I've watched several of the games from this past weekend, and I'll tell you, there's some teams out there that might not have had a great day on Saturday, but they're going to be good football teams.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you know, I kind of looked at what Avila did against McPherson. They still threw for over 200 yards, you know, and had some really good positives in that first game. But, yeah, I mean, Kansas Wesleyan getting the win with a new coach, 27-10 at home, I think that was big for them. And Ottawa, you know, it was kind of interesting. I expected it to be a fairly close game a lot of the way, but, you know, Kansas Wesleyan returned a lot of pieces, and they responded really well to the new coach there. So, very important. Again, McPherson won 52-7 against Avila in their first game. They rushed for 295 yards and threw for 246, so roughly a fairly balanced team. They had 6 rushing touchdowns, and when your running back is, you know, the guy that led you in points last year, you're going to get him the ball, you know, however possible. He had 14 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving last year. He's a really talented guy. His name is Jaleel Brown. He had 12 carries for 147 yards and 4 touchdowns. You know, really good player, 1,100 yards rushing last year. They had debuted a new quarterback. Ryan Markarian was his name. He completed 17 of 24 passes for 231 and 2 touchdowns. And then their best receiver, Traven Lewis Johnson, 7 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown. You know, they definitely have the guys, but I think the story for McPherson this last week was their defense more than anything. Held Avila to 79 rushing yards. Yeah, they gave up 223 passing, but they managed 2 interceptions, forced 3 fumbles, and recovered 2. 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, shut out Avila in the final 3 quarters. So there's a lot to go off, but I really feel like their defense, as much as their offense scored 52 points, outperformed them.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they're big, strong, and physical. You know, they loaded the box pretty heavy against Avila, and I could imagine they're going to do the same thing against us. You know, and they show a bunch of different looks in the back end, and they kind of try to confuse the quarterback a little bit, and so they might give up some pass plays here and there, but because of what they're doing, that, you know, they're hoping to, like, hey, we're going to show a bunch of different looks. We might give up one here or there, but we're going to get an interception in the process. And up front, you know, their defensive line gets after it. I think his number's 99. They got a big defensive lineman that he's a big, strong, physical kid, you know, that's been in their program, and he makes things go up front for them. But yeah, they're really good defensively. I think they're a good football team all around. Offensively, I think their running back's probably the best back that we'll see this year. I think Jaleel is his name. He's a heck of a player. And then their quarterback, Ryan, I know he's new for them, but he is the epitome of what I would tell you Coach Fiskus is looking for in a quarterback. Me and him have actually competed against each other several times when I was at Southern Arkansas and he was at Henderson State. And as I watch this team that he's got put together, it reminds me a lot of those Henderson State teams. He coached under Coach Maxfield at Henderson, who I have a lot of respect for. And one thing you always knew about Coach Max's teams is they're always going to be a very physical team. And that's what I think that Coach Fiskus has been able to bring there to McPherson is they're a physical team up front. They're going to do a great job with their blocking schemes, and they're going to make you try to load the box, and then they're going to be able to get the ball out to their playmakers on the outside. So they do a really good job on both sides of the ball, and I tell you, special teams wise, I always judge a team by their special teams, and I watch their special teams, and those kids play hard on special teams. So I think McPherson has a chance to be one of the better teams in our league this year, if not the best team in our league, and it's going to be a heck of a challenge on Saturday. We got to go out there, and we got to be better in everything that we do on Saturday to give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they are competing at a really high level. Last year was a huge step forward for their program. I know they only lost 3 games, but they lost their season opener to Tabor, and then they didn't lose again to the last 2 weeks of the season, and it was a 1-point game against Friends. And then, at that point, they were knocked out of postseason competition and fell to Southwestern like 41-14 around what Bethel did last year against them. But, a program, Coach, like you said, Coach Fiskus has been there a while now. He's built a lot of, good weapons. I mean, I remember my first couple of years here where Bethel would just take it to him, but he's got his people. They're big. They've got really good skill positions as well. If the quarterback is one of their biggest positions for them. If he takes care of the football, they win games. I saw it last year. They had their same quarterback, Tristan Zabo, from the last 2 or 3 seasons, and after he stopped committing turnovers, they were easily a better team for their football squad. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Threshers fare against them. Last year was the first year in quite some time that Bethel had lost at McPherson. It was a close game at halftime, and then McPherson found ways to string it out in the second half. So, in this, like you said, in this conference, you got to compete every week. It doesn't matter, anything leading into the game, as far as, somebody being this record or whatever. You just got to go out there and play after play and compete. And I know you were talking a little bit to your guys at halftime in this last game against Southwestern. Just, if you make a mistake, you put it behind you, and go out there and just do better the next time. Just get everything. And I used to have coaches that would say, if you're going to make a mistake, go make a mistake going 100%. Bottom line. So it'll be a good game for the Threshers at home against McPherson, again at 6 o'clock this week. You talked about special teams a little bit. Their punter is very good, averaging 42 yards a kick. Very, very good. Strong return game as well. So they know how to get good ball position and how to make other teams pay, get backed up towards your goal line, and they maximize on those opportunities. And I feel like, that can be kind of a dangerous situation, just ball position, especially with a young team. Oh, no doubt. I tell you, and they've built the team the right way. It's taken them several years to build it up to this point. And, that's the thing about NAIA football. Unless you're at one of the schools that are really heavily invested in athletics, and there are some of those out there, but unless you're at one of those schools, it's a process to build your program up, because you can't just go out. It's not like D1 or D2 football where you can go out and just get guys right away. You gotta average everything out, and so it's a process to build a program. And so they've been able to do that, and like I said, I think this is Coach Fiskus' 6th or 7th year, and now he has a lot of pieces in place. Like I tell you right now, I think their punt returner is one of the best in the conference. Like I said, I think a lot of their quarterback and their running back, their defensive line, especially that, I think it's number 99, special kid. So they've built that all up. And the thing that we got to do is we got to understand that, like, hey, yes, they have all this in place. But what we have to do is we just have to do everything right.
And we have to do, and when the play's over, we have to reset, and we have to focus on the next play, and then the next one, and then the next one, and we can't get ahead of ourselves. We can't be thinking 2 or 3 plays before or 2 or 3 plays behind, because we're not there. We're not at a place where we can get in our own heads. We have to focus right at what's right in front of us, and but I think if we do that, we can eliminate a lot of the problems that we had on Saturday. And the big thing that we have to do, being a young team, is we have to put ourselves in position to score, put ourselves in field position to make them nervous. If they're playing at the middle of the field all week like they did last week, then they're never going to feel nervous. If we can get them backed up and we can make them feel nervous, then we have an opportunity to make them make a mistake. And so that's what we have to do. We just have to focus on being the best version of ourselves and let the play happen and do exactly what we're supposed to do. That'll give us an opportunity.
Certainly, yeah. A lot comes to mind, looking back at the first game and things like that. You guys, it didn't get your first down, earn it as a team until I believe the second half at some point, and that was really a frustrating moment. I know you guys, it felt like, okay, so we can't move the ball, but we're not turning it over necessarily. So there's things that you definitely have to reshape a little bit, especially playing in your first college football game for 80-90% of your roster. But I mean, it's probably the youngest roster since probably 2019 in my calculations with everything. There were a lot of freshmen starting on that season, and mainly Cade Miller was a starter as a freshman on that team. So it takes a lot of learning. I mean, a lot of these guys will tell you that have played at this level as a freshman. So that's kind of just recapping a little bit about McPherson a little bit. Let's tell you about this week's games other than the Threshers and the Bulldogs at 6 o'clock. There's a few 1 o'clock games this week as St. Mary goes to Ottawa, and that'll kick off at 1. Friends goes all the way up to Kansas City to take on Avila for a 1 o'clock game. And then the rest are 6 o'clock in Lindsborg. Kansas Wesleyan goes to Bethany. Tabor hosting Southwestern, and Evangel hosting Sterling. And these officially week 1, but game 2 for these KCAC schools. So a lot of games. I usually circle a game or so that I think is going to be a good one. It's kind of tough to say in this first week. I'm thinking it might be maybe St. Mary and Ottawa or somebody like that, because the rest I feel like there's a lot not as close. I mean, but who's to say? Like you said, Coach, there's a lot of teams that could turn around and play in a completely different team after the drop in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some teams that walk on the field on Saturday thinking that they're invincible and they're going to struggle, and there's going to be some teams that played awful last week that are going to get things together, especially if you're looking at teams that maybe didn't play so good last week that are a little older and have some juniors and seniors on their team. There's going to be some teams that show up this week that's going to surprise some people. Not what the outcome's going to be, you never know, but there will be some games that'll be close games that you're not expecting to happen.
Certainly, after a week where it was fairly lopsided, most of it, other than the closest game being a 17-point game in the first week of KCAC competition. Of course, this is all interdivision. Second half of the season, you could lose your first 6 games and then go 5-0 in your division and make it to the NAIA postseason. So a lot of things can go out the door once you complete the first half of the year, and just staying healthy, that's the biggest part of it. Yeah. More than anything. And I feel like we kind of did through and through it all. But I mean, it's we're in a better circumstance. I mean, we're just where we were going into the first game. Yeah. Just learned a few more new things. Yeah. Just again, kind of revisiting a few things. Bethel again will play at home this week against McPherson, but on October 4th is our Fall Fest football game. A lot of alumni come back to that, so if you're thinking about maybe visiting or things like that, come out to the October 4th Fall Fest game against Sterling. That'll be, a great weekend overall. I mean, if you're just here for football, still going to be good, but if you're here for everything, even better. That kicks off kind of on Thursday, but Saturday's the big day on campus, a lot of that. But that is coming up. Believe it or not, I mean, we're in September now. And once you get a few weeks in, it just kind of starts zooming through the season. Anybody that's been around football seasons. Just officially a few things of note. Friends in Southwestern were the ranked teams coming into the season for the KCAC. There's no new poll or anything like that after week 0, so they'll stay at those capacities until the new polls come out for NAIA. But nonetheless, some representation and a very good Bethel division this year. And certainly, we hope the Threshers. I walked away from the football game this week thinking I think we could be a very good, much improved team when we get to the divisional play. And, I mean, we saw some things, and once these young guys get some experience, you don't know, what they're capable of. The ceiling, is really high. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, they're just going to get better week to week. I think I would say we probably had somewhere around 15 to 20 true freshmen that played in that game Saturday, maybe more. And so they're going to just get better every week. I think you noticed Caleb Jefferson. That kid's got a bright future ahead of him. And we had several other guys that maybe weren't true freshmen, but are redshirt freshmen that played a lot. And so we have a lot of guys that have a lot of room to grow. And I think a lot of them will grow fast because of the way that we practice and then having opportunities to play on Saturday.
Yeah, you definitely have to make that quick adjustment to the speed of the game, the physicality to it. I mean, that has to happen to compete well at this level. So, Coach, I'm going to give you the floor again for the final part of our show. Just again, a final message to fans and anybody that you want to address here before we go into this week's game.
Yeah, I mean, the message hasn't changed much since last week, to be honest with you. It's going to be a process. When you have 4 head coaches in 4 years, I have to build the culture the way that I have to build it, and that means that sometimes there's going to be some growing pains. And that process is something that we all just have to – if we don't do it right from the beginning, it's never going to be right. And you can be good and not do things right. You can't be great and not do things right. And that's what we're wanting to be. That's where we're striving for. That's what I said when I came here, is I'm not going to do anything the easy way. We're going to do it the right way. And so there's a couple of guys that could be playing for us right now that aren't because, they decided not to do things the right way. And that's just the way we're going to do it. We're going to make sure that our guys understand that this is something that we're investing in. We're investing in you for your next 40 years, not for your next 4 years. And if that means that we have to make some sacrifices, that's what we're going to do. And I'll tell you this, if our fans will just stay with us and understand that we're trying to build something here, there will be a good outcome. And like I said last week, I don't know if it'll be this Saturday. I don't know if it'll be 3 years from now. But when the outcome gets here that you're looking for, already be on the bandwagon. Don't wait to get on it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I feel pretty confident still about the program and everything. You have to realize, the people don't know these things about how young the team is until you bring out all these numbers to them and coach. And I feel like there is, there's so much room to improve. There's so much room to be more successful. There's only one direction to go. Yeah, and that's forward. And I feel really confident about it still. To at this moment, regardless of what happened in the first game, you just kind of have to have the mentality that things will get better, and they will. I mean, that's the way it is. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We definitely appreciate you. Whether you're a fan of just outside looking in, alum, or someone who is potentially looking to come to Bethel College. There's a lot of good opportunities here, and we hope that you stay interested and you just reach out to the right people. And for everybody here, we definitely welcome you to come by anytime. And for this week's show, that's going to do it pretty much. For Coach Josh Lawson, I'm Dan Page, again telling you to roll on.